This is the writer and director's commentary explanation of the storyboards for writer's block. Um, in scene 1, we see the writer looking out the window, watching man walk down the street, and that inspires the writer to start his story. So he goes to his computer and opens up Word and starts typing, and he enters a man on a bench. So we see a man on a bench. And you may notice that the picture here is a man on a bench in a park, and that was my original intent. But it was snowing, and also the park near my house doesn't have any benches for some reason, so we relocated to the Gateway building. Then we cut back to the writer, and he's looking for inspiration for what can happen to the man on the bench, and so he starts looking around the room, and he sees a bag of kitty litter, and so he types a man on a bench with a bag of kitty litter. And so then the man on the bench is joined on the bench by a bag of kitty litter, and he is confused as to how it got there. So the writer backs out a man on the bench with a bag of kitty litter and enters a man on a bench holding a bag of kitty litter. So suddenly then the man is holding a bag of kitty litter, and he remains confused as to how this is happening to him. The writer decides that that's not the way to go with his story, and so he takes out everything except for a man on a bench, and we go back to just the man on the bench. So then the writer's trying to think of what else he can write, so he's sitting at the computer, very frustrated, just really all over the room, trying to figure out what he can write. Finally, he's on the floor, looking up at the ceiling, maybe reading a book, and his dog bursts through the cat door, and that inspires him. So then we go back to the man on the bench, and you see a lady walking her dog down the street in front of him. So then the writer continues looking around the room, and he sees a cat on a cat tree. And so then the next thing you see is the writer has a cat, the man has a cat on his lap. And he doesn't like cats, so he tosses the cat off of his lap, and then the dog and the dog walker run back onto the screen, chasing after the cat. So then we go back to the writer, and he's decided he doesn't like the way his story's going, so he thinks he needs a change of scenery. So then we cut to the writer in a coffee shop. And in my head, the coffee shop scene was taking place in Panera, but I was not able to shoot it in Panera. But my sister-in-law used to manage Java Jolt downtown, and they were kind enough to allow me to shoot my coffee shop scenes in Java Jolt on a Sunday while they were closed, so that was wonderful. We see the writer with his laptop and a cup of coffee, and he's just people watching. And one of the people he sees is a woman standing in line. So then the man on the bench sees that same woman standing near him. And the man on the bench is so taken by this woman that he wants to give her a bouquet of flowers. But then when we cut back to the writer, he sees someone buying a baguette. And so that, in turn, affects what's happening to the man, and his bouquet of flowers actually turn into a baguette in the flower paper. And so both he and the woman are confused as to what is going on, understandably. So then we cut back to the writer in the coffee shop, and he sees another man come in and join the woman in the coffee shop. So, and then they kiss, and he writes that into his story. And unfortunately then, our man on the bench is left to have his heart broken, because this woman that he wanted to give flowers or a baguette to actually already has another man in her life. And then we cut back to the writer, and he deletes everything off of his screen, and so it fades to black. And originally I was going to end the movie with an empty bench because the man was no longer there, but I opted to cut that part out. So this is actually an extra scene that didn't make it in. So there is my explanation of my storyboards and a little bit of commentary about how the movie shoot went. Thank you.